Hey everybody, Felix Staffelbaker here. I just wanted to make a quick video on EOS having the inflation cut from 5% down to 1% and why EOS is now lower inflation than even Bitcoin. So for those who don't understand how network inflation works, in most public blockchains, new tokens are created and issued to those that operate the network. They generally are sold to pay for network operations, which do contribute to downward selling pressure on tokens. But right now what we're seeing in EOS is annually, because of the 5% rate of inflation that had been in place, there was 50 million tokens being created every year through this process, and it was being paid out to block producers who were verifying the blocks on the network and making EOS work. Well, this proposal to bring inflation from 5% down to 1% has been in the works for some time, but there's been a lot of other things kind of going on behind the scenes, and a lot of people were not paying this too much attention, and it just kind of happened suddenly and caught a lot of people by surprise. So it was a really good thing to see it be able to get passed and go through, especially because the BPs are the ones who are affected by the 5% being down to 1%, and that's only creating 10 million tokens per year, in addition to the operating supply of EOS. And so just a quick example, the current inflation rates calculated in USD to maintain current prices is $6.14 billion to operate Bitcoin. And obviously that will be cut in half come May 2020 when we experience the Bitcoin halving. Ethereum is at 5%, and it would take $750 billion to operate the system and keep the current price, whereas now with 1% inflation, EOS is at $40 million to operate. So this is just a huge improvement in the efficiency of EOS and how it pertains to the inflation going forward as far as being able to be mass adopted. Inflation is effectively reduced with voter rewards when the BPs offer token holders revenue for their vote, and it lowers the cost of network operation by passing value back to holders. This is identical to mining pools, but the value goes back to the people who actually deserve it. So with that 1%, it breaks down to 0.8% of that being driven back to the token holders, either through, some people call it vote buying, but basically a BP who is giving enough valuable information to the ecosystem. You vote with your staked EOS, and then they end up giving you a portion back. So 0.8% of this 1% inflation is going back to token holders. I mean, that's gigantic. That doesn't happen in like Ethereum. They ended up voting to raise their inflation rate in order to pay the miners of the Ethereum network more. So they're actually going in the opposite direction, and it's important to take a note of that because, the people in Ethereum won't tell you that that's actually what took place. And the other 0.2% of the 1% inflation annually on EOS is consumed by the block producers in order to keep up their infrastructure and keep the running going and being able to produce blocks. And, you know, a good portion of these block producers have been around since the chain started. So a lot of them had had time to, if they hadn't sold, you know, all their rewards right away, to be able to build up enough infrastructure that now when it's dropped down to 1%, they're able to operate efficiently and not be scrambling to try and find funds. So this is a major update. It's literally, EOS is down 80% in its inflation rate, from 5% down to 1%. That's an 80% reduction. There's no other crypto that takes into account an 80% reduction in their total inflation. So this is a major milestone, and I'm looking forward to new things coming on EOS because of this, and allowing for more agile block producers. They're doing a great job, and I just can't wait to see what this brings forward. So thanks for watching. Stoffel Baker out.